Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you've been paying attention to what the incoming Trump administration is planning for the auto industry, you've probably heard the headlines about rolling back fuel economy standards, but the full picture is actually a lot more interesting than just lower miles per gallon targets. The real story is that the Trump team wants to give automakers massive relief from the ultra-strict CAFE rules that the Biden administration finalized without forcing them to sell a single extra electric vehicle to make up for it, and that's a huge departure from how things have worked for the last decade. Let's start with a quick reminder of where we are right now. Back in 2023 and 2024, the Biden EPA and NHTSA pushed through the toughest corporate average fuel economy standards in American history. By model year 2027, the fleet-wide average was supposed to reach almost 50 miles per gallon, climbing even higher after that. To hit those numbers, automakers basically had two options: make internal combustion cars insanely efficient, which is extremely expensive and technically really hard at this point, or sell a ton of electric vehicles because EVs get credited with way more than their actual energy equivalent under the CAFE math. In practice, that turned the fuel economy rules into a backdoor EV mandate. Estimates were that to comply without revolutionary gas engine breakthroughs, car companies would need to get somewhere between 30 and 50% of their sales from plug-ins by the end of the decade. Well, the Trump transition team has made it crystal clear they think those targets were completely detached from reality. Industry sources who have talked to the incoming leadership at Transportation and EPA say the plan is to freeze the standards at roughly 2026 levels, maybe even roll them back a little further, and most importantly strip out or severely limit the EV multiplier credits that made electric cars the easy compliance path. That means automakers can meet the new, lower bar mostly with regular hybrid technology and slightly more efficient gas engines instead of being forced into a fire sale on battery electric vehicles that a lot of consumers still don't want at current prices. Why are they so confident this is the right move? First, they point to the sales data. Even with record incentives and the Inflation Reduction Act tax credits, pure battery electric vehicles are still hovering around 7 to 8% of the US market. Hybrids are the ones flying off lots right now. Second, they argue that the Biden rules were going to add thousands of dollars to the price of every new vehicle because the compliance costs were enormous, and those costs were going to get passed straight to buyers whether they wanted an EV or not. Third, there's a strong belief in the new administration that energy policy should prioritize abundance and consumer choice, not picking winners with regulatory thumb on the scale tricks. So what does this actually look like in practice? Expect a new rule proposal pretty early in 2025 that sets a much flatter CAFE trajectory. Think something closer to 40 miles per gallon fleet average by 2030 instead of the 50 plus the Biden team wanted, and crucially the EV credit multipliers will either disappear entirely or be capped so low that they no longer act as the primary compliance tool. Automakers will still improve efficiency because they always do when oil prices fluctuate and competition is fierce, but they won't be under a regulatory gun to electrify 40 or 50% of their lineup overnight. Now I know what some of you are thinking: doesn't this just kill the EV transition? Honestly, probably not in the long run. Tesla will keep doing what Tesla does. Battery costs are still falling, and states like California can keep their own zero-emission vehicle mandates if they want. What this really does is remove the federal government as the enforcer trying to force electrification faster than the market is ready for. If consumers actually want electric cars at scale, companies will build them because that's where the profit is. If they don't, the industry pivots to plug-in hybrids and regular hybrids, which right now seem to be the sweet spot for a huge part of the buying public. For car buyers, the short-term effect should be lower sticker prices on mainstream gas and hybrid models because manufacturers won't be carrying the same massive compliance burden. Pickup trucks and larger SUVs probably avoid the worst of the cost bloat that was coming. At the pump you might see a tiny uptick in average fuel consumption across the fleet, but with modern engines and more hybrids the difference at the gas station for most people will be measured in a few dollars a month, not hundreds. Look, This is classic Trump-era deregulation philosophy applied to cars. Get the government out of the way, let the market sort it out, prioritize domestic energy production, and trust that American companies will innovate when it makes economic sense rather than when a regulator demands it. Whether you love that approach or hate it, it's coming, and it's going to reshape what shows up on dealer lots for the next 5 to 10 years. Let me know in the comments if you think this is a win for consumer choice or if you believe we actually needed those tough standards to force the transition faster. As always, I read every single comment. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.